I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, and this is the Doctor's Guide podcast, raw and unfiltered, bringing to you the insights and the action steps that you're going to want to take to optimize your own health. And it really comes down to the responsibility and the ownership that you need to have about yourself in order for you to optimize your health. Not just taking any chances, not just simply ignoring it, not just telling yourself that everything's going to be okay, or for that matter, just relying on the doctor to give you some pills that actually might not serve you in the best possible way. And so, this podcast today, and I'm actually incredibly honored and blessed to be sharing this podcast with Marc von Musser and Dr. Val Franc, because the depth of their insights that I discovered in our last show with them was quite remarkable and enlightening for anyone that wants to optimize their health. And so today is going to be the same thing again. But for those that have never watched this podcast before or listened to it, this podcast really is all about helping you make the right decisions for yourself. You see, I don't know you personally, but the process by which we make decisions is pretty much consistent and the same for everyone. And that is, you've got to get the information, you've got to understand what the problems are, you got to get the data, and then go through a process of finding out what the details are of your particular problem with the right individual that can actually guide you. And so that's the purpose of this podcast today. We're not selling something, we're not selling a service. You can go to those other podcasts, and the truth of those other podcasts is some of them are absolutely amazing, but not necessarily appropriate for what it is that you need right now. And so getting you back in the driver's seat of your own health, or as Marc von Musser likes to say, being the CEO of your own health is critical, because ultimately it's really up to you. We no longer have an excuse to be sick anymore. And some people will get triggered by that statement. They'll blame DNA, they'll blame something else. But the truth of the matter is, you have control over all of that. Maybe you're just lacking the insights and the knowledge. And that, again, is why we have this podcast here today. So how do we do that? Through role playing. We'll do about a 6-minute role play where one person will present with a particular problem and the other will act as a guide. And the idea then is that we have these real conversations that you then potentially see yourself, you witness yourself in the process here, or perhaps somebody that you care about, so that you can understand the pathway towards optimizing you. So if you do get triggered, if you are critical of this, if you are judgmental of that, these are inside messages that's telling you to pay attention, because you know what? You deserve optimum health. And in today's world, that is absolutely possible. So for about 6 to 8 minutes, one will have a problem, the other will be the guide. And then after that, we'll just unpack all of that. And you'll get a chock full of insights and action steps that you can take, and even reaching out to both Dr. Val or Marc von Musser. So first, the introductions. If Dr. Val can briefly introduce yourself, we'll go with Marc after that, and then we'll dive into the actual role play. Dr. Val.
Thank you so much for having me on as a guest. I'm a naturopathic doctor. I have an undergraduate degree in nutrition. And throughout my career, I've spent the last 24 years not only working as a naturopathic doctor in practice, I've taught at the Canadian School of Naturopathic Medicine, the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine, the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition. I have studied different forms of alternative medicine all over the world. And I like to work with women and CEOs and high performers and elite athletes. And more recently, I helped Vanuatu's women's beach volleyball team as they went on their pro tour, and they were at the Commonwealth Games and won bronze. So I like working with high performers.
I love that. So thank you for that, Dr. Val. Marc?
My name is Marc von Musser. I am the founder and creator, CEO of Soar and Roar, which is a human optimization program, and Sales Alchemy, which is about heart-driven selling. And it's really about 40 plus years of obsession, my personal obsession about human behavior, how to optimize human behavior, how to get the best out of people, how to help unlock their greatness. And it's really about helping people to identify their greatness, become aware of it, and own it. So that's really what we've done. And formerly, I was the director of coaching and training for Tony Robbins and helped him scale his impact at a very big way. I've had the pleasure to work with millionaires, billionaires, homeless people, professional athletes, everybody in between, and really focusing on the core human movers. What does it take to move human behavior? That's really what intrigues me. And it's just a lot of fun. For the last 10 years, I've also been helping business owners using a heart-driven approach, how to stop selling and enroll. And we did easily over $1 billion of sales for them to get new clients, doing it the right way. So really, it's about helping people live their best self. And that's really what I've dedicated my life to. So that's what I do.
Thank you so much. And what I so appreciate of both of you is your passion, your commitment, and the depth of your knowledge and ability to impact others in such a great way. I'm looking very much forward to working with Dr. Val and learning so much from her. But I have to say, I'm eternally grateful to Marc of all of his inspirations and his guidance in the past and even today in the path that I'm on, as I like to put it, disrupt or lovingly disrupt the current healthcare model and deliver a unified or democratizing unified model where everybody wins, because it's really about working together. And this is what this podcast is all about, is understanding how we can all work together, but you have to find the right individuals. And both Dr. Val and Marc are just superstars in the world of health and peak performance. So I'm very grateful for you and the impact that you have on others. So I know Dr. Val will present with a problem and Marc will be the guy.
All righty. Well, Dr. Val, thank you for calling in. As you know, I have mad respect for you, and you're an accomplished doctor. You've spent a lot of time helping other people. So what brings you in today? How can I help?
Well, basically, I am burnt out. I'm exhausted. I've been caring for an ailing parent, watching them go through a very devastating illness. And then I have my career and I have to perform because, I love my father and he's very sick. But he's an entrepreneur. He's everything to me. And I know he wouldn't want to see me suffer, but my practice has really been suffering since he's been sick. So when I'm with him, I want to care for him, but my mind's at work. And when I'm at work, my mind is on him. And I'm trying to be everything to everyone. And I'm finding it really challenging balancing both worlds. My practice is suffering. My health is suffering. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling exhausted. I'm feeling like I need to go to caffeine to boost me up in the morning. I'm having, I'm waking up at night because my mind is racing. I'm needing something to calm me down at night. And, used to be like just a nice cup of tea. And now I'm grabbing for a glass of wine or 2 or 3. And it's just, I'm feeling constantly overwhelmed. And then I'm trying to grow my business, but everything is just collapsing.
Got it. Well, first off, thank you for the honesty and vulnerability. Again, everything you say obviously is in a safe space. So really what I want to go to is I want you to think about the specific moment when you look back in the last week or the last month where you really felt overwhelmed, you felt burnt out, you were really resenting the career choice and everything, kind of where you were really down. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So basically, with my career, everybody wants a piece of you. And patients come in and they're not doing what you say, but then they're expecting results. And everybody wants the magic naturopathic pill. And I'm sorry, but it doesn't exist. Or then I'm getting a text from patients at, Friday or Saturday at 7:00 in the evening or on a Sunday. You're always expected to be on demand. And I'm really starting to resent that. And then there's so many CE hours that we have to do to keep up with the profession. And the profession wants you to do things a certain way. And they're saying you can't talk about this and you can't talk about that. And so we have to.
So tell me specifically, when specifically was it really bad?
Oh,
what
God.
day of the week? What day was it? There's a time where you said, this is it. I'm fed up. I'm done. What was that?
Yeah, so it was a Saturday morning and I needed to go in to see my dad at the hospital. I wanted to just be there with him. And I had a patient that hadn't that missed their appointment. And then they were just expecting and demanding. They were sending me all of these different types of texts saying it's an emergency. And then this is a patient who traditionally they would come in and I would see them and we'd get them on track. And then I wouldn't hear from them for a month. And then suddenly they'd show up and then they'd be like, I wanted to see.
Let me interrupt you because I don't want to spiral in the story. I want to get to the emotion. What did you feel when that happened? I don't need the story. I want to know what made that so bad. And when you felt, did you feel powerless? Were you angry? Were you resentful?
All of the above. I felt angry. I felt powerless from the sense and frustrated. Like, what are your expectations? Like, you're not taking care of your health. You're expecting me to wave my magic fairy dust. I felt.
And let me ask you, is this progression of these emotions, is this becoming more consistent? Are you finding yourself triggering quicker?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm starting to snap even at family members, at things that wouldn't necessarily bother me. Like, I just go off the handle. And I
when
can't.
that happens, if this continues, what are you mainly afraid of? Let's walk this thing through. This continues, you lose you hate your profession, you hate your life. What are you really afraid of if this continues?
Well, hating my profession and hating my life means like I don't want to go to work.
And then what?
Make any money. My health collapses. I start, forcing myself to show up at a job that I hate. I'm not effective. My patient load goes down. I start becoming an alcoholic because I'm trying to just numb out.
And then what?
I mess up and get sued. And then I end up being homeless because I have no profession. I'm getting sued. I have no money. And that's, you're
Got
out
it. How committed are you to fixing this now? On a scale of 1 to 10, how committed? Why is this a must right now?
12. It has to happen.
Okay, got it. Because in order to fix this and to make some changes, first we need to acknowledge it. Okay, it's not right or wrong. It's simply what is. Number 2, we have to resolve and commit to say, I'm willing to do the work. This is true for anything, even your clients. They can have a challenge, but if they don't do the work, nothing changed. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, got it. So the first thing that I want you to look at and dive in is, let's say that we do help. What do you really want on the other side of this? What would be complete victory for you?
To be honest, I want to make my dad proud.
Okay.
My
And
dad.
what does that look like? How would you know that you're making your dad proud? Tell me about that.
Well, he was always such an entrepreneur, and he always said, like, we've given you so much and you've had so much privilege that you have to give back to the world. So it would be having a successful practice. It would be having a good career that has meaning and value. It would be creating a legacy where I could, basically set my nieces and nephews up for financial success and freedom. He loved his nephews, his grandchildren. He loves his grandchildren. They're the most important thing. And to be able to instill in them that work ethic, that would be huge.
So making your dad proud really is about helping you get your practice done. So that also tells us if you're in overwhelm, you're missing some systems and some support, which again is stacking, but you're gonna have to do one of two things. You have to decide to improve and step up and get some support, some systems, or you go ahead and have the story. You can't have a victory or the victim at the same time. So you're going to have to decide. And so one of the things, giving it new meaning, you already have your degree, you already have your profession, you already have it. So the part that sounds like it's eating you up is business systems. Would I be correct in that?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So in terms of that, how open are you again to going ahead and getting some business support, whether that's a coach, whether that's some support?
Yeah, 100% open.
Okay, great. Because the other part too is, again, you can absolutely link your success and helping people and accomplish both things. What you cannot do though is continue to carry the baggage that you are right now, because that's what's eating you up and you're at a critical point. So right now you're at a critical mass point, like at the tip, you're either going to go over the cliff or you're going to turn around and correct course. Because again, you're starting to resent your client, your profession, and it's also in conflict with your dad and wanting to honor him. So one of the things as well is that this also has a direct correlation to your health. Your mental health and the frequency in your thoughts every day is creating some of the physical issues that you're having, the lack of sleep, the fatigue, the chronic fatigue. So those are some of the things that I would say too. There's a direct correlation between your mindset and how you're performing in your body. So again, if we can work on your on your mindset, get your mindset in alignment, support that with good systems, we can fix this relatively quickly. So how open are you for that?
100%. Let's do it.
Okay, great. So the other thing that I would have you do it too is that you're also disconnected from your real purpose again. Let's start there. We got two things we need right now. Number one is for you to reclaim your identity. That's the one that had the goal of being a doctor. That's the one that had. I want you to stand like her right now. Stand in that version of her. I want you to stand with your shoulders back. I want you to imagine Dr. Val, when you were an intern and you set the dream and you talked to your dad, I'm going to be a doctor. Can you remember that version of you? Dr. Val, did I lose you?
I think we lost her. I think she's internet
I think
connection.
so.
There we go. Okay. I think you're coming back.
You back?
Your picture's
she's
frozen.
just-
I can hear you though.
Not sure what's going on here.
Can you hear us there, Dr. Bell? Or maybe she's just thinking about what you just asked her to do.
Oh.
There we go. You're back.
Am I?
Okay. You're
How's
back.
that now?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we'll edit this little piece out.
Okay.
No worries.
Can you hear me, Dr. Val?
What's going on here?
I'll have to put my glasses on for a second.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
am I back yet? I don't know what's happening.
Are you, can you see us? Still frozen. We have to remind everyone, Tanya, about their internet connection.
She's in Canada, so enough said.
Yeah, really. Oh, we lost her.
She'll come back. She'll click back through.
When you get back on, we'll just wrap it up in a minute or so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little tricky too, again, because if we get long on the stories and it's as opposed to there.
Yeah. She's back.
Sorry
Okay.
about that. I have no idea what happened.
Okay.
Oh, you're in Canada. We decided you're in Canada, so that's
Yeah.
you know.
Okay, so let's take it back from the question. Two things to help you fix this.
Wait, hold on a second.
Okay.
Right, so check here.
Oh.
Go.
So Dr. Val, real quick, this is absolutely fixable and is going to require a commitment on your behalf, but there's two things we can do right now to move the needle quickly. You open for that?
Yes, absolutely.
Number one is I want you to go back to the time when you were empowered and you were passionate about becoming a doctor, talking to your dad. I want you to imagine that moment right now and stand in that as like you did then. So if you can stand or sit in that place, and again, when you're ready, I want you to tell me, okay, now I'm back there, and I want you to remember how that felt.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
now I'm back there.
And I want you to go ahead and give that identity a name. Who is that? Is that Dr. Val? Is that Super Val? Is that who? What's the name of that version of you?
Oh, that would be Dr. Lyrica Fox.
Okay, good. Dr. Lyrica Fox, I want you to squeeze your hand and say it again.
Dr. Lyrica Fox.
Okay, so every time again, when you do it, I want you to add some energy. You can grab a seat. I want you to go ahead and now every time you think of Dr. Lyrica Fox, I want you to squeeze your hand and I want you to imagine, I want you to go right down tonight, spend about 5 minutes and write down every emotion that came up back when you were connected and passionate to being that doctor. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's where I want you to start. You might want to do this 12, 24, 3 times during the day. Every time, boom, Dr. Lyrica Fox is on the call, okay? The second thing you're going to want to do as well is reconnect to the real goal. You've lost contact. You've got two things. You've got your dream, and that's where you're fired up. That's your purpose. That's where you're excited. You've got all the crap you got to do as a part of that. That's like following up with clients. That's trying to remind them to do their appointment. That's like paying your bills. That's not as a lot of fun, but your goal has gotten small, okay? I want you to switch that back. I want you to switch back, and I want you to spend 10 minutes minimum. You can do more, but 10 minutes minimum. I want you to go back and write down about Dr. Vivica Fox, the doctor that's going to change the world and make her dad proud, and write out what that looks like, what that feels like, how it feels to put on that coat, how it feels to have the clients that do show up. You need to get that version back driving the car of your dreams. You willing to do that?
Absolutely. That sounds
Okay.
awesome.
Good. When you submit that back to me, then I'll go ahead and we'll start talking about business support so that you can get some of those systems in place. But it doesn't matter what systems you have if we don't get the right version of Dr. Val or Dr. What was her name? Letitia?
Lyrica.
Lyrica. If Dr. Lyrica is not driving the car, it doesn't matter who's in charge. You got to put her back in charge. And when she's there, we can now fix this and get you back where you want to go. Cool?
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool.
I love it. Great job, guys. First, Dr. Val, what was that all about for you?
Oh, I can remember at different times in my career where, I was very passionate, but then sometimes you hit those burnout phases where you have to reinvent yourself. And the point in time when my dad was quite ill, and then he's passed away now. But taking care of him, really brought that to the forefront of really wanting to make sure that I could honor him and be there to take care of him, but then have my practice thrive because it was so important to him. And so to make him proud and to have him see me successful and thrive, it was a hard space to navigate because you're navigating all the grief and then trying to be the caregiver, but then also trying to be there to support your patients, and you have to show up, with love and at your best for both. And it can become very, very challenging if you allow yourself to just be in the grief and pain and some of the frustration rather than as Marc was pointing out, the passion.
Yep. No, absolutely. Marc, what was that all about for you?
It's pretty typical, burnout, overwhelm. But really, when I've noticed that, what it is that people have lost connection, because when you're in medical school, you were burnout, you were tired, but you were passionate, you were excited. And that's what I find with most people is that when they're in the game, but what happens is they get caught up in the transactional aspects. They get busy and the how becomes more important than the why, and they disconnect from the purpose. It's tough to do in 6 minutes to just kind of move the needle. But if you can focus on that, get them back into their identity, get them back into their body and remind them of that. I don't have to recreate it. I just got to get her back to that. We can move the needle. Structure, about most of the transformation is about mindset, is about 80%, 20% are strategies. But again, I got to call forth the best version of her. Otherwise I'm talking to the wrong person. And that's pretty common. The more successful people are, the more likely they're dealing with burnout. And the more that people don't have rituals and habits to get back to that purpose daily, it's inevitable.
So I love what you just did, Marc. And I'm very attuned and experienced in the world of coaching. In fact, you trained me as well, and I know how incredibly effective you are. And for the listeners and viewers out there, this might seem rather odd, like step into your power sort of thing. What kind of nonsense is that? And to full transparency, and a fun fact myself is that I grew up in 5 countries. I speak 4 languages. I trained for 17 years. I read all the Greek classics. I read the philosophers of the Age of Enlightenment. So that's Voltaire and Descartes and Rousseau. And I came across this world of peak performance and personal development. And I thought, this is nonsense. This is crazy. This is nothing. And it was just simply out of ignorance, not out of arrogance. And the truth of the matter is that this is an amazing world when you have individuals like Marc von Musser who hold you to a higher standard. And because they know, as I know, Marc von Musser in this particular case knows how incredible, Dr. Val actually is. And as, Marc was saying, we get caught up in all these transactions and all these old programs that don't serve us. And we really forget who we really are, what gets us, excited, what lights us up. And it's just that connection, that process. And again, as Marc was saying, this normally is like a whole hour sessions and a multiple sessions and over time. But you did do a wonderful display for anybody out there that recognizes, yes, I need something like this. I need somebody that holds me accountable, but also has the abilities to see who I really am and to help me get the breakthroughs that I desire. And so for those who are foreign to this kind of stuff, that was an incredible display and definitely most impactful. So I'd like to give the word back to you, Marc. Expand on that, if you will, as to, what distinctions and action steps people can take.
Sure. So what you said is very, very true, and thank you for that. But I see greatness in everybody, and what happens is there are moments when we see it in ourselves, but when we don't feel like we're winning, we have been programmed by, my whole life, and I've seen people, they're programmed to comply, not to live in their greatness. So it's, sit down, raise your hand, wait for your turn, in kindergarten and first grade, raise your hand and wait your turn, and don't get too high on yourself. Somebody else struggled and it's not good. And so we've really been conditioned away from our greatness. And people confuse owning your greatness with ego. It's not at all. Owning your greatness allows other people to see their own greatness. And so part of what we do with the transformational coaching is to help people reconnect to that. Because a lot of times that's what gets you started, is a dream of becoming a nurse, a dream of becoming a doctor, a dream of breaking the cycle of poverty in your family. But somewhere along the lines, when you start getting kicked in the nuts, hit in the head with a 2x4, and life happens, it's really easy to forget. And that passion, when we can reconnect them to their purpose and their greatness, and then they can see it again, all of a sudden they can handle life. They can handle those challenges, and they're activated. And now those challenges are stepping stones. They're muscle building opportunities, and they get that mojo back. And once we do that, man, I help train thousands of people to make millions of dollars with business and sales. And 3/4 of the time, it's getting them back into their greatness. The sales part and the business part's easy. But if they're bringing the wrong version, the burnt out version, the dispassionate version, that's what breaks my heart, because that's fixable. It's fixable quickly. And when you do, now you have a willing partner. And this is true for professional boxers, professional baseball players, professional Olympians. I mean, you name it. Human beings are human beings. I don't care how many degrees. One of the people I know I had the pleasure of working with had 5 PhDs, and they needed to help reminding about their greatness at times. And there are other people that have tens of millions of dollars. A friend of mine has $100 million. And when he lost contact with his greatness, that 100 million plus dropped down to 50, dropped down to 30. And we had to get him back going, remind him of his greatness. He's not his bank account, but his greatness had been disconnected and his purpose had been disconnected. So we spend a lot of time helping people do that. Somebody out there, God doesn't make junk, and he did not start with you. Go back to your greatness. You're of divine lineage. I would start by doing something I call a brag book. This can transform you quickly. One of my favorite skills that helped me get out of my own crap was a brag book. No one taught it to me. It just came to me. Spend 10 minutes a day in the morning and 10 minutes at night, and write down the victories you've accomplished, things you're proud of. Write down things, even something that seems benign or small, like I took a phone call from a friend in need. That's huge. When you gave money to the homeless, when you worked your ass off and inspired other people, when you built your business, when you got married, when you got graduated, write those down. And what it does is it activates the brain. And one victory reminds you of another victory, of another. And very soon you're going to have pages of victory. When you start that, now you're going to realize that God doesn't make junk, and you're no exception. Now you can start connecting to your greatness and go face life again. But that's a daily practice I do and I teach. And that was a game changer, because everyone in society and my teachers, my parents, my community would always tell me I'm not enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not attractive enough. I went to the wrong schools. In fact, I didn't go to the school enough. I didn't make enough money. I don't have a G5. So I was always reminded of where I fell short, but there was no one else was going to show me where I was great. So that's my job. So that's what I would throw out to a listener.
Well,
Start a brag book practice.
I can't add anything to that. That's an amazing portrayal of what's possible out there when they have a coach like you. And quite frankly, we all deserve a coach. I know top CEOs, I mean, they're smart enough to realize they have coaches. Professional athletes at times have, 4, 5, 6 coaches, depending on what they're being coached on. But you truly are displaying the possibility and potential for anyone to step into their greatness. So I really thank you.
Can I give one more bonus gift?
Of course.
Okay. This changed my life. I was standing in the back of a Tony Robbins event. I had just been diagnosed with stage 3 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I had had surgery on the Monday before the Friday training. So I'm standing in the back row, upset. My daily vibration. This was back 15 years ago. And I was pissed off at life. I was angry at life. It didn't show up the way I wanted. I ended up with stage 3 cancer. And every 2 hours, my lymph in my crotch would break, and it would literally look like I was peeing my pants. And I'm really, really mad. And in that moment, a voice came to me in the back of in my inner voice, and it said, "Would you take the cancer for your girls?" And I said, "Yes." And I said, it said in that moment, it said, "Somewhere a parent does not get the choice." And I started crying. And in that moment, I found gratitude. I went from being pissed off and why me and this life sucks and people are dishonest and all the anger and all the hate that I could justify and point to. And I shifted to gratitude. And I started to obsess on gratitude. And I came back and I started something that no one was teaching at the time either. And it was a gratitude journal. I started writing in my gratitude journal every morning, every night. And I didn't just write, I got till I felt gratitude. And I didn't know if I had 1 day, 1 week, or a month. My parents had just died of cancer. And I started obsessing on gratitude. To this day, gratitude and abundance are next door neighbors. If you start living a life of gratitude, because there's always something to be grateful for. And I found it. Sitting in traffic normally would set me off and I would go into cuss words like you can't believe. Now I'm excited. I'm not getting a speeding ticket. I've got a 6-figure car. Holy crap. I can call people back. And I'm chatting with friends now where before I'm sitting there cussing. Gratitude is a game changer. Don't just check the box gratitude. I want you to feel it. If you've got a bed, you're ahead of most of the world. If no one's shooting at you, you're ahead of millions. If you've got food in the refrigerator, you are blessed. And the minute I shifted to gratitude, long story short, within 60 days, I had a surgeon who called me after 40 years. He said, "I'm a scientist first and a healer second. I've dreamed about making this call." He goes, "I don't know how and I don't know why. And I've rechecked it. We sent it to 3 pathologists. The diagnosis stands, but we're changing your diagnosis to cancer-free." Gratitude is a healer and it's a gift. So I'm giving it to you guys. Practice it and watch what happens.
Let me add some science, and then I'll have Dr. Val complement all of that. And one of the exciting things that I've discovered, and unfortunately, conventional doctors don't learn this kind of stuff. But you know, when there's electricity going through a wire, it actually emits an electromagnetic field. And so where do we have a lot of electricity? That's our heart. And so every pulsation is a result of electricity passing through the muscles. And guess what? There's an electromagnetic field that's created right away as well. Now, interestingly, that electromagnetic field spans about 12 to 15 feet away from the heart. So that means that that electromagnetic field, which is what I like to call information or energy information, actually extends to every single cell in your body. So we have about 70 trillion cells. So that information, that electromagnetic field is affecting every single cell in your body and those around you, by the way. Now, last time I checked, our brain was still connected to our heart, at least energetically, and also the brain emits electromagnetic field. So think of it this way: whatever you're feeling, whatever you're thinking is going to relate to the heart, and that information is going to go everywhere else. Dr. Val, what would you like to share?
I would love to share the magic. So, there's a lot of science that you can use to back this up. You were talking about, a lot of the studies that you can look at from the Institute of Heart Math.
Mm-hmm.
I can say from personal experience, once I started to get into that attitude of gratitude, have that, I call it my victory book, the brag book.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer victory books. I don't like to brag. But once I started to get into those feelings, magic happened. So all of these opportunities that I couldn't have possibly organized myself just popped into place.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely what Marc's talking about, it works. You have nothing to lose. So just start doing it and just watch as these miracles begin to come into your life. And then you get more gratitude and it builds on it more and more and more. And it's just, you'll find these opportunities that there's no way you could possibly organize them or have them happen. They just show up. And then you just get more love and more gratitude in return.
I love that. So not only science is out there, but actual experience is out there as well. And another way to simplify all of this, and this is the first chapter of my own book, but with gratitude is basically saying yes to the universe. Dr. Val, like you to wrap it up. How do people get a hold of you? Any final words?
Sure. People can get a hold of me at www.drvalfrank.com. That's my website. They can go on and book a fireside chat if they want to connect. The other thing you can do is you can follow me on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. My Instagram is Dr. Val ND. Same with Facebook. So easy to find. And what I would love to tell people is, we get so, as Marc was saying, we get so much trapped in our head and in the busyness of life that we forget to stop and be grateful and stand in that place of love. And when you stand in that place of love and connection, and you really start serving humanity and finding your purpose and just moving through that purpose with love and joy, you change the world. And once you do that, when you're showing up in your greatness, you inspire others to do the same. And you'll notice that people just start clicking on. And it's the most powerful gift that you can give to the world, because you are the only you there will ever be. And we need your gift. We need your light. You're the only one who can bring it.
Yes, we do. Marc?
You can reach me, find me pretty much anywhere, but let me give you some websites. www.soarandroar.com. On there, you'll see a link to Sales Alchemy. If your business is struggling, you need to learn how to sell and get enrollments and want a heart-driven approach to do so. That's 10 times more effective than traditional enrolling. You're going to want to jump on there. You can go to marcvonmusser.com. You can also find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and probably pretty much all of the social media sites. If I was going to give one last thought to everybody is stacking on what Dr. Val said, and that's whoever's listening to this, you matter. Maybe your purpose and destiny isn't to be a billionaire, but what if that wasn't the real standard? What if the real standard was for you to be the best version of you? What if that meant that to your child, you are God? You are the most important person to that child or that best friend. And I've watched far too many people pass without really owning that. And life is too short, guys. I hate to say it, but you don't have to be alone. There's a whole group and community of people that can love and support you and help you find your greatness. And right now, I believe that's the only thing that's going to change the world. I don't have any faith in our government. I don't have any faith in the people that are running the show. And again, if we're going to save this world, it's going to start from the bottom up. And that's me and that's you. None of us are better than anyone else, whether they have money or not. You are not your bank account. You are a divine lineage, but you might be off track. You might have been doing the wrong things at the wrong time. It's all fixable. If you've got one more day, that's a lot more than a lot of people. So that's what I would throw out. You matter, and you're not alone.
And so I can't add anything to anything that you just said, except for one thing, that you guys are the light for the rest of us, the beacon of hope and the path that we need to walk on because of your heart-centered magic that you deliver for us and give us the clarity of what we need to do next. So I honor both of you, acknowledge both of you, and thank you. My name is Dr. Bart Rademaker. This is the Doctor's Guide podcast, raw and unfiltered. Hopefully we triggered you a little bit. That's the whole point, because that means that's it's a message from in the deep within that's telling you you got your work to do. Thank you, and we'll be back.